So from what I've seen, the reality is that most working music producers, career record producers, aren't building an email list or running ads or putting funnels together or even have a fancy website. And it's not to say that these things would never have a place in your journey as a producer, but from what I've learned developing producers is that most of them aren't good internet marketers, nor do they want to be good internet marketers. They want to establish a long-term career and reputation as someone that produces really good songs for artists and get paid to do that, make a living doing that. And if you're a producer that wants to be good at internet marketing, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I've worked with producers like that as well, but that's not going to be the point of this video. The goal of this video is to help producers save a lot of time and headache because they don't have to do any of these things. If you're new to the channel, my name is Daniel Grimmett from Dark Label Music. We're a producer development company, and basically we just work hands-on, one-on-one with producers, developing various aspects of their career based on where they're at in their career. We've helped producers go from landing their very first clients to landing their first management deals. So what prompted this video is I was on the phone this morning with a producer that really just wants to be a record producer, but went down the rabbit hole of YouTube producer marketing videos. And hey, I make videos here, guilty as charged. And no disrespect to anyone, but the content seems to do a better job at selling courses for the creator than it does at actually helping producers build careers. And he spent so much time trying to develop all of these skills, pretty much every other skill outside of the fundamental skills someone needs to start building a clientele for themselves as a working producer, or to grow their clientele or bring in more consistent work if they are already a little bit established. And in this video, I just wanted to run through 3 things that I would do with a producer to help them start building a clientele, getting work, and kind of hitting their first, financial goal, whether that's to transition to full-time or whatever it is. This is all that we would do. Now, I've got to see kind of both sides of the music industry. I started in commercial studios, more the traditional path, if you will, but ended up building a production company using the internet and hiring producers, and that's kind of when I got into, developing producers and stuff. It was part of my job. I'd have to hire the producers and also, bring in the clients, bring in the work. And the internet is awesome. There's good things to it, but just like anything that has a good part, there's going to be a bad part. And I think the bad part is just all of the distraction and people thinking that it's radically changed. And in some ways, the industry has radically changed, but the fundamentals hasn't changed. And what we do with producers is stupid simple. It's hard work, but it really is simple, and it cuts out all the flashy stuff. And what I love about it is that if the producers that we work with just develop these skills and hit their metrics, which I'll talk about in a second, there's no way for it to not work. So they're not guessing, is this something that's going to work or not? It's no, if you develop these skills, it works. There's no way for it not to. So most of this stuff will be things that you already know. And you may wonder well, hey, I've done this stuff. Why didn't it work for me? And the reason is that most people look at this stuff as tactics or strategy when they should be looking at it as this is a skill I need to develop, just like I had to develop the skills of, producing songs or writing songs or whatever it is that you do. So if you ask any veteran producer, hey, how do I make it as a producer? You're pretty much going to hear the same thing first from most of them, which is you have to go meet people. You got to network with people, right? And when I'm working with a producer, we kind of determine who their best fit clients are based on what level they're at and who they're interested in working with. And I say, hey, let's just set a goal to meet 12 of these potential clients, these artists that you're interested in, every month. And there's a couple of different ways we can do that. They can reach out to them. Maybe they find them on a Spotify playlist and hit them up on Instagram. Nothing new there, no new concept there. Or maybe they create some content and an artist finds them on TikTok or something and reaches out. I don't really care how they meet the potential clients or these artists, but all I care is that they hit this metric, meeting 12 of them every month. So the internet is great because the internet can speed this part up, right? Like we have more access to more people, we can get a hold of people, and that's awesome. But what a lot of producers do here is they're not good at the skill of meeting artists. So you may be like, man, I've done outreach, I've hit all these people up and it didn't work and most people didn't respond. Or, the conversation went, just kind of died out, nothing really happened. And that's because meeting artists and having conversations is a skill that you have to develop. So for us, we would be looking at like the producers, like screenshots of their conversations, finding weaknesses, like just helping them develop these skills, because most of the time producers are a little awkward when they do this, or weird, they feel awkward, and in turn that makes them kind of act that way. But once you get really natural at it and it's not as scary anymore and you're not going into the conversation with the mindset of like, I need to hunt and sell this person. You go in more into the mindset of like, hey, I'm just meeting people, I'm meeting friends, I'm making friends, then you'll have a much easier time. What a lot of producers will do is be like, hey, keep me in mind, they'll have a conversation, keep me in mind for any work you may have in the future. And most of the time, they don't keep them in mind. So the second thing we get them good at is just having a way to kind of prove themselves, one, especially if they're, they don't have a huge track record yet, which most don't, and establish more bond with the people that they're meeting. And you can do this in one foul swoop. And what we like to do is a thing called proof sessions. That's just like an internal term that we use. When we were in Nashville, we would do co-writes with the artist. The artist would come over, we would write with them, the producer would be kind of building up. They wouldn't finish the track, but they'd start building it up. And we knock it out of the park, hopefully, to the point where the artist kind of brought it up themselves, like, hey, what would it take for us to finish this? What are your rates? Do you charge? And then we'd have that conversation with them. Instead of sending beats to an artist, maybe you can develop or do a good enough job in this section to actually have them get on a Zoom with you, or lander sessions, or if they're local, have them come into the studio and play some beats for them that you think would be a fit for them. Have them do a session. A lot of mixers, mastering engineers will do test mixes, test masters. Instead of just sending it back, maybe hop on a call and like go through the mix that you did or listen to it together. Like anything that proves that you can do the project and builds bond will help speed up the process of a stranger becoming a client. So it's like stranger to friend to client. Now, this is a lot of work, right? We want to just put up a funnel and everything's passive and we're just sitting on a beach. But the people that have a legit career in this, they put in a lot of hard work. And the basics, the hard work and the basics generally work every time. So out of these 12 people that they meet, either through outreach or through some content, whatever style they want to do, you could do one or the other, you could do both, whatever you're comfortable with. We want half of those people that they meet to, establish a little bit more bond, right? To move into more of a work engagement. Again, at this time, we haven't asked for any money or anything. Like we're just making friends and connecting with artists that we dig or artists that we think we can help. And then the third thing is we need a way to kind of transition this into a project, if that's what makes sense. And again, a lot of times, if you knock it out of the park with the proof session, the artist will bring it up. They'll be like, hey, how do we move forward? Because you're usually not producing the whole thing for them. You're positioning this in a way where it's like, hey, generally I'm a producer, like I work for a fee, all that kind of stuff, but I love what you're doing. I'd love to do a co-write. I'd love to, do a piece of something you're working on if that's cool. So you don't want to bait and switch people. That's very important. If we can get a third of these people, the 6, to become clients, that's 2, that's a great metric to hit, because what we're doing is we're adding 24 projects or clients per year, right? And actually those clients could do more than one project. In general, if you have a strong relationship with the artist, maybe you're doing 4 singles a year. Well, that's awesome. 24 clients doing 4 singles a year. If you charge whatever, $800 or $1,000 or $1,200 or $2,000, depending on what level you're at as a producer, that's a really great business. And over time, you start working with better and better artists. So here's what's cool about this. If they hit these metrics, there's literally no way for it to not work. They will have a book of business. They will have projects that they're getting paid for. Now, here's what happens though. I can tell you these metrics right now, and it's like, okay, cool, go do it. But for most of the producers that we're developing, they can't just immediately pull it off. And that's okay, because in order to pull off these metrics, they have to develop skills. Now, a lot of these are communication skills, as you'll see. Most of this involves just like communication, soft skills, personal skills, and some, a little bit of tactic and strategy. But most of it is that. So what these metrics tell us as a development company is, where are their weaknesses? And wherever those weaknesses are, that's where we dive in and help them. And then just step by step, they get better at each thing. And then all of a sudden, they're able to hit all these metrics. And then at that point, it's like hockey stick growth. Because once they can replicate it once, they can just keep doing it over and over again. Now, I understand in an ideal world that you won't be doing this stuff, right? Like a manager would be doing all of this stuff for you. However, until you get to that point, some of this stuff you're just going to have to do on your own. But I found that this process is much less, much more minimal impact versus trying to become a, top internet marketer, which is very difficult to do, to learn, all these skills. Now, I want to call out the elephant in the room, because not that I've been trying to trash on internet stuff, but I mentioned content. I know that freaks out producers, and I'm not going to get all the way into content right now. But one thing that content can do that's pretty cool that I've experienced in my business, which is why I'm even here on YouTube right now, is it can kind of knock these two things out. Like, it's a way that people can just know I exist, right? They find my YouTube videos or podcasts, Music Pro Daily, little plug there. And that's how we meet. They reach out to me and we meet that way. So that's cool. I didn't have to do that work. They came to me. And then I don't have to do as much bond building and as much proving myself, because they've most likely already digested a lot of my content. So some of that bond has already been built. Now, I still do a series of calls with the producer before we work with them, so it's not, passive or anything. But that's kind of my choice. I want to just make sure they're a fit and continue to build some bond before we work together. But that's the cool thing that, content can do. It can put you in a position to where you don't really have to do proof sessions or prove yourself. You don't have to do as much work to go out and meet people. But again, that's optional. It's just one way to do it. Now, if you have a good business model built into, to your production business, which we call it the momentum model is what we do. I'll link to another video where I'll talk about that. Then you have a lot of repeat, work from this group of clients down here, and referrals and all that stuff happening. So you do get to a point where you don't have to do as much of this stuff over here anymore. But again, this is just to build up. Where people can get worried is they think that, like, man, this is hard work. Am I going to have to do this forever? And it's like, not really. You just have to do it to get up and running, and then maybe you get a manager, or the business just kind of takes off at that point. So if you have any questions about this stuff, drop it in the comments, or if you have any, thoughts or comments, or think I'm full of shit, you can feel free to put it in the comments. Or if you're interested in business development and what that looks like, and if it would be a good fit for you, I'm happy to chat. All my info's in the description below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. Appreciate you.